I am completely confident that one of your priorities in the new year is to enjoy your family relationships. I know that you want a happy marriage. You want to enjoy time with your kids and build a deep relationship. You want them to call you willingly when they're grown-ups and they've left the house. And I know that your days are busy and stressful and long, and family dynamics can be difficult and painful and discouraging. And yet, I also know, my friend, that discouragement or that distraction, that does not have to define what your family relationships look like. And that's why today on the podcast, we are going to take a look at the 3 most common and most painful roadblocks to enjoying those family relationships. There are plenty of things that can be difficult about family life, and these 3 roadblocks are a key to moving forward. Now, we'll spend all month, the rest of the month, diving into some practical ways to tackle each and every one of these roadblocks, to move them out of the way and pave a smooth path forward. But first, we have to know, what are they? Why are they sneaking up? How are they stealing your joy and your peace and your intimacy in your marriage and your parenting? How are they getting in the way of enjoying family life? That is what we're going to look at today. So I'm glad that you are here for this conversation. This is episode 168 of the Love Your People Well podcast, where it is our mission to enjoy family life by building healthy, happy, and holy family relationships. I am your host, Jess Hayes. I am a marriage and family therapist, a pastor's wife, a mom of 4. I've been a Christian for a few decades now, and I'm about to celebrate that 10-year anniversary with my husband. And I am just so passionate about helping moms enjoy these family relationships, because I know, yes, from my own experience, but especially as a therapist, helping marriages, helping families for well over 10 years now, I know how easy it is to miss out on these relationships. And time passes quickly, and yes, you can find healing later, you can find forgiveness and restoration and reconciliation and all of that. But you cannot get back that time. When your kids are little and adorable and yes, frustrating. And so it is my mission with this podcast to help you enjoy every minute that the Lord has given you with your sweet and precious people, and to keep Jesus at the center of it. And how do we do that? We enjoy life when our relationships are healthy and we're happy and they're holy and they are meaningful. That is what we are all about here on the Love Your People Well podcast. And if you're looking for resources to help with all that, we have freebies and devotionals and plenty of great stuff over at loveyourpeoplewell.com. And of course, we have our conversation today looking at these 3 roadblocks that are getting in the way of having the family relationships that you want. I want to start with an invitation, because we are doing something new and exciting and different inside our Patreon community, and I would love for you to be a part of it. We call it the Faith Fiver Club because it's just $5 a month, and it not only supports this ministry, but we are kicking off right now. I mean, today's January 2nd. It just started. Monthly challenges all year long. Month by month, we are deep diving into some of the biggest components of family life and deepening those relationships. And this month in January, we are focusing on spiritual disciplines. I've already uploaded the workbook into the Patreon community. We've got a private podcast to go with it where, every Sunday on that private podcast, we do just a quick 5-minute word of encouragement to start our weeks on a strong footing from God's word. And then week by week, also diving deeper into whatever the monthly theme is, which in January is spiritual disciplines, building our relationship with the Lord. I would love for you to join us over there inside the Faith Fiver Club. You can find the link right there in the description for this episode, or head to the main website, loveyourpeoplewell.com. So that invitation is out there. I also like to start my episodes with a little disclaimer, just a reminder, reality check that yes, I'm a therapist, but this podcast is not therapy. And I don't know your personal life and situation, but I do know that you probably have experienced at least one of the roadblocks we're talking about today. So if what we're talking about makes you realize this is a huge struggle and I need some help, then, sometimes seeking out a Christian counselor can be really helpful. So my friends, let's jump in to the 3 biggest roadblocks to healthy, happy, and holy family relationships. And the first one I will highlight is distraction. Distraction from what really matters. And I think we all know how easily this can sneak in. We see it in social media. Yes, you can get lost, scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or all the things. We see this, even with Pinterest, like how often do I get lost? Oh, I'm looking for a recipe. And next thing I know, I'm on the 28th pin that I've clicked on because it just looks so interesting. It's really easy to get distracted in our day-to-day lives with TV or media or even just the to-do list and cleaning, dusting the baseboards of the living room. I'm not going to say that's never important, but it's definitely not the most important thing if you want to enjoy family life. It's so easy day to day to get distracted away from what really matters. But it is also really easy and probably even more damaging to get distracted in the big picture away from what really matters. And what I'm talking about there is your faith and keeping Jesus at the center of your family life. It is really easy to get distracted by all the sporting events and all the homework and all the volunteer things at church and all the events on the schedule. There is so much going on for the modern average Christian family, and it can be very distracting from the things that truly matter the most, which is building your own relationship with the Lord and discipling your kids. Your marriage, your parenting, the whole of your family life, keeping that centered in the Lord is a rock for you and your family. If you want to enjoy family life, you need to build it on the foundation of the Lord. You want to build on the rock and not the sand. But the sand is easy and it is distracting. So that is roadblock A. And next week, we will dive deeper into some practical ideas for how to deal with distractions, both the day-to-day distractions and the bigger picture distractions of life. But let's take a look also at roadblock B. So the second one I would highlight here is that one of the biggest roadblocks to enjoying family life and deepening those relationships is drowning in emotional overload. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by anxiety or anger or depression or stress, and we can feel like we are drowning. Being a mom is hard. Like, I don't think that that's like a spoiler alert for you. I'm going to guess you're already well aware that it can be exhausting and overwhelming to raise those little ones day in and day out, the grind of parenting. But marriage is hard also. And everyday life is hard. You probably at some point in the last few months have not felt your best. You've had, sinus issues, or you got the flu, or, we get sick and we get overwhelmed and we commit to too many things. And our emotions can really get in the way of enjoying family life. Because if we're not managing them well, and this is our own emotions, but also our family members' emotions. When your 4-year-old toddler is having a temper tantrum, it just doesn't feel good. You're not enjoying that moment. But when you are the one having the temper tantrum, even if you hold it all inside and you're smiling on the outside and nobody knows, so you think, that you are feeling incredibly angry or incredibly frustrated or incredibly worried or stressed out and burned out, when you feel like you are drowning like that, that is not a blessing to your relationships, and you're not enjoying life. That is roadblock number 2, when you feel like you are drowning in hard emotions. And that's why here on the podcast, actually, we focus so much on how to manage hard emotions. Back in the fall, we had a whole series, several weeks, looking at some of the most common emotional struggles that Christian moms deal with. We looked at anxiety, we looked at anger, and actually you can find a bunch of resources on the website at loveyourpeoplewell.com/emotions. But this is a huge, really common roadblock, is we feel like we are drowning because it's a lot and it matters and it's overwhelming and emotions are tough. And we will look at that one kind of the middle of the month. In 2 weeks, we will do a deep dive into some practical strategies for dealing with that sense that you are drowning. How do we get back on our feet and move forward and manage those emotions so that we can enjoy family life? And then roadblock number 3, and yes, I did ABC 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to call it. Roadblock number 3 is discouragement. Especially, I think one of the most easy things to get discouraged by in family life and family relationships is breakdowns in communication. There is nothing more discouraging than thinking, I was super clear with my husband and he is not doing the thing that I asked him to do, or he is not, understanding me, or my kids are just continually defiant, or, whatever's going on. So much of that boils down to constant communication problems. And that is discouraging. When we feel that sense, and usually we're putting in everything we have. Obviously, we always are trying to be as clear as we can be and to keep those lines of communication open and healthy and positive. And is that impacted by our emotions? Of course. And do we communicate in part based on our the centering of our faith in the Lord? Are we communicating with love and compassion and humility, or with harshness and bitterness? I mean, we know all of these things are connected, our faith and our emotions and our communication, but it's so easy to feel discouraged by what the interactions look like, the back and forth looks like in your marriage or in your parenting, or honestly, even in your own head, the things you're thinking about day in and day out. And you know what? Again, we have a lot of resources on the website for this, loveyourpeoplewell.com/communication. I mean, there's a reason why the website offers devotionals and resources and freebies addressing these roadblocks, because they're so common and they're so deadly to enjoying family life. And I've already said it, but I'll remind you again that we're going to deep dive into each of these roadblocks through the month of January. And we're going to look at, how do we stop being distracted away from what really matters? How do we get back on our feet if we're drowning in our emotions? How do we find encouragement again in communicating well with the people that we see every day. We're going to look at some really practical strategies there. You can get a jump start on that over at the website. But if you're struggling with any of these, if you're feeling kind of distracted, you look back at last year and think, oh my gosh, did I really use my time that well? If you feel like you're drowning, if you are feeling discouraged, my friend, you're not alone. Family life is hard and it's overwhelming. And part of the reason why we struggle with it is because we know how important it is. We know how much it matters, and we know how fast the time goes. And that's why our goal here is to deal with these types of roadblocks so that we can get back on the right page and deepen those relationships and enjoy every moment that the Lord gives us with our family. So grab those resources at the website, loveyourpeoplewell.com. There's some great freebies there, a conflict resolution checklist, a self-care guide, 51 ideas for free self-care. There's a Bible reading plan for free there. There's a lot of good free resources on the website. There's devotionals. And again, I would remind you and encourage you to join us in the Faith Fiver Club. We are deep diving this month into spiritual disciplines. You are always invited, and as we go through month by month, I do expect to post those as like their own separate 30-day challenge type of thing on the website. If you're listening to this in the future, you can probably circle over into the shop and find that and join us now for whatever we're doing now in the future. But month by month, we're growing together. And my friend, we'll be back on Friday with our Friday Faith follow-up episode. And until then, subscribe to the show, share the link to this episode with a friend who might be needing some encouragement, who might have some New Year's resolutions around her family relationships. Share the love, my friend. Grab the resources. Remind yourself day in and day out that you're doing this for the Lord and for your people. And I pray that you will feel confident and encouraged this week in how you are loving your people. Hugs and blessings to you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.